Managerial economics can be defined as the amalgamation of economic theories. Monopolistic means the market has features which are both perfect competition and a monopoly. Marketing is a team that will work for the organization in order to promote the products. From the revenue earned, whatever the cost factors we subtract over a period of time, we will be able to generate the profit here. Good morning and welcome to the model question paper review session in business decision theory. This is a very important session which is going to prepare you for your final exams. So let's have a quick look into what are the probable questions that can come for your final exams, starting with the part A with the 15 markers. So the first question, answer any of the three questions. So we are going to answer every question possible here. So let's just go on with the first question coming here. Define managerial economics. Explain the importance of managerial economics. Let's just spend a minute here. The question is about what is managerial economics and its importance. So you need to start framing your answer in a manner. First, you need to give a definition and then followed by the theory. Now let's look here. Managerial economics can be defined as the amalgamation of economic theory. So this word, economic theory, that's very important, with business practices so as to ease decision making. Why are we using management economics or managerial economics? Because for decision making purpose and future planning by management. So in my definition itself, I am able to make you understand, I'm able to give you the purpose of why I'm giving this definition. So I'm telling you this is an amalgamation. What is this amalgamation? A combination. So I'm using this word amalgamation, which stands for combination of economic theory, which is used for decision making and future planning. Followed by, it assists the managers of a firm. Whom it's going to assist? The managers of a firm in a rational solution of obstacles faced by the firm's activity. They make sure that the economic activity, the theory or concept, it helps them in formulating the logical managerial decisions. So what it helps you actually? It helps you to create the decision making. It helps you to understand how managerial economics can be used as a system, as a setup in terms of understanding the economic theories and the concept factor. So when you are writing this answer, you need to start with the definition. You need to continue the flow with an example, with a descriptive theory, so that you are able to give out the correct points, the correct figures in terms of writing the answer. Now, since this is being a managerial economics based paper, business decision theory, you will be eligible to add on to the answer by bringing in relevant examples which are related to the organization. Followed by, the key of managerial economics is the microeconomic theory of the firm. It lessens the gap between economics theory and the economics in practice. So basically, this tries to make us understand how managerial science is becoming very effective in terms of using of the scarce resources. That's where managerial economics is very important, following which it is actually a guide for the managers to, in terms of taking up the decision. It helps you to guide through the competition. It helps you to guide through the decisions that are needed to be taken in case of suppliers, in case of the firm, or in terms of how to make use of the analytical tools that are needed. So this is why managerial economics forms a very important part. So what you do while writing the answer is that, now let us not just go by the number of words or number of pages. Please go by a qualitative answer. So whenever you write the answer, you give the main points, underline it, give relevant examples, make the theory complete in terms of writing, then you will be able to score full marks. Followed by define a virtual corporation and discuss the features. Now, most of us know this word called as virtual corporation because we are all in the world of digital and virtual world all together. So, moment you get a question like this, the term virtual organization is used to describe a network of independent firms that join together to produce a service or a particular activity. So, you know a lot of .com companies like Amazon.com or a Flipkart.com, or there are several .com companies that are available in the web. So what is the purpose? That's what we have to first write as a part of the answer. So here we are using the term very, very clearly. It is used to describe, that word, describe a network of independent firm. I'm not just talking about one firm. I'm talking about a network of independent firms who join together, often temporarily, to produce a service or a product. So they will not just join together. There's a purpose behind it. What is the purpose? To produce a service or a product. Virtual organizations is often associated with such terms like virtual office, virtual teams, virtual leadership. So all these things are new words for you. Why? Because when you write these things like teams, leaderships, organization, committee, formation, all these things will tell you the purpose, the reason behind why virtual organizations come into picture. Followed by the ultimate goal of the virtual organization is to provide innovative, high quality products and services for the customers. So when you are mentioning about the virtual organization, you need to also highlight on the importance and need of the virtual organization. So you are going to write down very clearly why virtual organizations exist in this world. So the reason why they exist in this world is because they want to meet the consumer demand, the consumer products altogether. So that's why they are into picture. So this is very, very important as we are writing about it. Followed by the term virtual in this sense has its own roots in the computer industry. When a computer appears to have more storage capacity than it really processes in virtual memory. So like this, I'm just providing you a comparison here. Likewise, when an organization assembles resources from variety of firm, a virtual organization seems to have more than it possesses. So how do we compare here a virtual organization to that of a memory inside a computer, so that you will be able to understand better how virtual organization draw resources from various points, from various sources in order to make it even more successful. Followed by the next question, define elasticity of demand and explain the price elasticity. Very, very important question which is often repeated in the examination. So let's have a quick look and also let's keenly look into how to write the answer here. Now, this kind of questions are one where they want the exact answer, because when I say define price elasticity, that's a definitive question with a definitive answer. So you cannot just go about writing your own story. Rather, you need to write the exact answer. Goes ahead in terms of the elasticity of demand refers to the responsiveness of the demand due to change in the determinants of demand. So why is that change coming in? For what factor the change is coming in? Because of the responsiveness due to change in the determinants of demand. So what are the change that can come into picture? One is price, the other one is income factor. So moment when we talk about the price factor, the income factor, there is an elasticity of demand. When I say elasticity, that's about a stretchable factor. That is a percentage change. It is not an absolute change. It's a relative change that I'm talking about. So when I say that depending on the price, depending on the income, there is going to be a variation in demand. I'm trying to take in variables. I'm trying to take in factors, compare and bring the variation. So that's why we call this as elasticity of demand factor. followed by discuss the law of variable proportions. What do you mean by law of variable proportions? Now, this is an important question. Imagine you are standing at a favorite ice cream parlor, eagerly waiting it to gobble it up. Basically, you want to take it, so you start eating the ice cream. At first, what happens? Your satisfaction level is happy with the 3 or 4 level scoop. So what I'm trying to tell you is a picture, is a story where I want you to understand how this factor starts coming up. Now, once you start raising up your want, that is your satisfaction level, you're not just satisfied with that initial 1 or 2 scoops. You want more and more of the same ice cream. So now what happens is that though your need factor, that is your satisfaction factor, is going to decrease after some time, but then initially what happens is that you start increasing in terms of the want. You want more and more ice cream, but later what happens? It starts declining. The quantity will start declining. That's where we are using this word diminishing rate. Now, eventually, we all come to a point when you will come close to being satisfied and full. Please underline that word, satisfied and full, which means now I'm completely done. I do not want to proceed beyond this point. There would be lesser chances for you to eat another scoop. So I do not want any more ice cream because I'm satisfied by both body and mind. So now I don't want to go here. This is where the law of variable proportion comes into picture. So what we say, being one of the most important concepts in business economics, the more and more a consumer tries to consume the same kind of product, over a period of time, it starts decreasing. Why? Because the consumer attains the satisfaction level faster. So that is what we are trying to say here by law of variable proportion. So that's why we are using this word in managerial economics. While writing this answer, you can bring out your own examples, underline the point, and you can highlight the need for satisfaction versus that of numbers. Now the next question, define monopolistic competition market, how price is determined as an output factor here. Now when you go here in this question, monopolistic means the market has features which are both perfect competition and a monopoly. So a monopolistic is more than a pure competition or a pure monopoly factor. It's a more common factor here, which means to say that there are equal number of buyers, equal number of sellers, and there are varied distributors that are available. So that's why that particular question is very, very important. Now moving further, when we are coming to the part B, the 5 markers, the first one is discuss the functional areas of business. It's a very, very generic question. Anybody can answer. So let me start the answer itself by using the word generally. The 6 functional areas of business management involve strategy, marketing, finance, human resources, technology, equipment, operations, and all those factors. Therefore, the business planners, the people who run the organization, will keep all these departments in mind and they will plan the business operations. So what we tend to do is that we have to understand all the 6 operations. So what does the strategy team do? The strategy is a part of the organization which is involved in planning, which is involved in putting all the objectives and policies together. Marketing is a team that will work for the organization in order to promote the products. Finance is a team which will manage the monetary affairs of the company. Human resources is a team that will manage the people and their abilities. Now, technology and equipment is a team that will manage the production, that will help you in terms of running the software and all the modern technology that is needed. Operations is more concerned with the production which is happening on the floor level basis. It involves the day-to-day operations of the company. So when you take up all the 6 departments, highlight it one by one, explain each and everything with an example, then the answer becomes complete and you will be able to score this 5 marks. The next question that we are looking here is explain the types of elasticities of demand. So when we go here, elasticity we have already studied, so we know how to define it. Let's first define it. Elasticity can be defined as a measure of variable sensitivity in change to the another variable. So sensitivity might be in relation to price, in relation to income and all those factors. What is very important here is that the measure of variable sensitivity that we are talking about. Very, very important here. Why? Because whenever we talk about that sensitivity factor, the change factor, there is a variation compared to factor A over factor B. That's where the elasticity comes into picture. Elasticity is not an absolute term, it's a relative term. So that word has to be mentioned in your answer. So when you are trying to do it over a relativity, over a period of time factor, that's where elasticity is being judged upon. From the business and economic standpoint of view, why am I using this? Because we have to bring the relational value of why this is used. It's a measure of how sensitivity and economic factor is on others. So for example, you might be able to tell the outlook of a pandemic on the economy, the outlook of inflation, the outlook of unemployment. All those factors will have an elasticity, a sensitivity factor on the economic factors. Now, the next one is when you continue on this, you will also say changes in price of supply and demand factors of the income, which is very important. Examples of elastic goods like clothing, electronics, inelastic like drugs or food, whichever we are talking about. These are all the inelastic and the elastic items. When I give about these examples, make sure that you imbibe a similar kind of examples in the examination, because you will be able to score more, score better. So whenever we measure the change of quantity demanded in goods and services when compared to the price movements of these goods and services. So this is mandatory, how you put these words, how you write it across altogether. Followed by explain the uses of production function in the managerial decision. So what is the use of production function in the managerial decision? Very important question. Just have a look into it. Production function can be defined as a technological relationship between the physical inputs and the physical output of the organization. So conversion of input to output, that's what we are concerned about. Input to output will be of very much importance to us. The production function is a statement of relationship between the firm's scarce resources and the output that results from the use of these resources. Input of these factors of production such as land, labor, capital, all those physical factors are coming into picture, and because of which the long run production and other factors are taken into account. So all this put together, we will be able to give the function as the production function is a factor of labor, land, capital, machinery, tool, technologies. All those factors are involved in production. So production is not a simple function, it is a complicated function that involves various factors which is used to transform an input to a meaningful output. Now the next question, briefly describe the short-run average cost curve, which is very, very easy. All we have to do is that there are certain, prerequisites which we are talking about from a business standpoint. This is where we have to understand, moment we talk about short-run, that means we are keeping the business at a very, very small time period. So the variables will be very less and most of them will remain fixed. That's the most important thing. The short-run average cost determine the cost of fixed and the variable short-run factors. So whenever you are running a short-run based business, you will try to keep the variables fixed as far as possible and not change them too much. The reason is also clear. Why? Because you want to produce the maximum number of units within the stipulated period of time. So you want to make a quick profit. So what you will tend to do is that you will try to manufacture a similar kind of product on a repeated basis rather than involving too much of customization. When you involve this technique, then automatically what happens, the cost will get stabilized and you will be able to produce more in a short period of time. So overall, the average cost will come down and the productivity will improve, by which you will be able to sell more and make more profits. Now, It is not only gives you an idea about total cost, but it also helps you in terms of working out the average cost manufacturing, which is very, very important. All these costs can be also graphically shown. If you want, you can draw the graph there, and which will help you to make you understand the short-run average cost curve. Now, the next one is explain the features of oligopoly market. This is also a kind of market where you see that few sellers join hands together in order to create a cartel. When we talk about oligopoly, it is taken up from those two Greek words, oligi, which means few, pollen, which means to sell. So few sellers in terms of selling one particular kind of product. This is a cartel kind of formation. Reason is that oligopoly market structure in which there are few sellers of a homogeneous or a differentiated product, and they try to hold something like a monopoly, but it's not exactly like a monopoly. That's why I say it is between a monopolistic and a monopoly. A right example for an oligopoly is OPEC, oil producing, exporting country, oil and petroleum producing. What they tend to do, they tend to hold the entire factor together. They try to hold the entire organization together, by which there are only 7 countries in OPEC who are the members. They will control the price of the oil. They don't allow other nations to come inside and decide on the price. So what happens? The profit is completely shared between the 7 members only. It's a kind of monopoly, but not exactly a monopoly. It is like a cartel formation, a group formation, which holds the key to success, which holds the key to the profit. Followed by, when we talk about the skimming price policy, which is also quite important, it talks about price skimming is product pricing strategy by which you charge the highest price initially and then you start lowering it over a period of time. So price skimming is something where you will see that initially you will put a high price in the market. Now people will think that the product is very expensive, it has a luxury tag altogether. So when the customers are satisfied and once you are able to take the customers under your control, you will start lowering the price in order to maintain the customers. That's what we have been talking about, the price skimming. Now this approach is opposite of the penetration pricing, which means in a penetration pricing, you will first lower the price and then higher it. But in a price skimming, you will first set the price at a higher level and then slowly start bringing it to a lower level, because in order to retain the customer. Now, we start moving on to the Part C, where you have 5 into 315 marks. The first question is when you have to write a short note about objectives of the business firms. Very easy. So you can just write down the objectives: profit maximization, multiple objectives, the growth factors, the BOMOL sales maximization, output maximization, security profit. So you can just write your own points in terms of how the business wants to develop in terms of the profit making. Followed by, what do you mean by an opportunity cost? Very simple. This is actually a factor where you are as a direct implication of scarcity. When we use this word opportunity cost, that's where we are trying to bring about, you have to choose between different alternatives. So people think, what is the next best opportunity we have in terms of taking up a particular chance or a particular opportunity given? Now, Milton Friedman, who won the Nobel Prize in economics, is fond of saying that there is no such things called as free lunch, which is a very, very important thing. What it means that world is always in scarcity and everything has an opportunity cost. So you need to make the right choice in terms of picking up which is best for your organization, which one you can skip and which one you need to take in order to retain your business growth. Followed by, what is a penetration price policy? As I have told you, penetration price is an acquisition strategy of the companies. Companies will try to penetrate into the market by using the factor called as, entering the market at a lower price and then capturing the people. So this is a very, very important theory that we are trying to talk about. Now, the company penetrate the market by offering a lower price than their competitors. It is very, very enticing factor altogether, because when you look at the current provider, the effort to gain the market share, what we are trying to do, what we are trying to understand here is that we are trying to understand what effort that has gone gone in terms of acquiring a customer and how we need to retain that customer in the long run. Now, what do you mean by profit function? So next question, profit function is given by revenue minus cost. It's a very, very simple formula. You can just put this formula, profit is equal to revenue minus cost, and you will be able to explain it. So profit means from the revenue earned, whatever the cost factors we subtract over a period of time, we will be able to generate the profit here. Now, price rigidity, which is very, very important. What we mean by here is that the price stickiness or the price rigidity, which means to say that the price remains constant, which means the failure of market to change quickly despite the shift in the broad economy. So when the price cannot adjust immediately to the economic conditions, the price becomes too rigid for the economy to hold on and they are not able to shift. So what happens? The price continues to retain itself at that level and continues to tend forward in terms of the equilibrium. So there might be sometimes what you will be seeing here is that there might be a possibility of an insufficiency, a disequilibrium coming into picture, but often this kind of price rigidity happens only in one direction. The prices will rise far more than the expected level rather than falling, and this concept of price stickiness or rigidness applies to the wages. Very, very important. That's where we are trying to say why, because people tend to continuously ask for more and more wages. They will never go on the declining trend. So this you can use as an appropriate example and you will be able to score well in your exam. With this, I come to the end of this session. I hope and believe that all the important concepts and features that has been discussed through this model question paper will be of a great help to you in your upcoming examination. All you need to do is put in a little bit of effort, concentrate and write, and I'm sure that you will be able to score the maximum marks in your examination. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.